It's brand fucking new, all right? You leave for work, it's dark. You get to work, it's dark. You go home, it's dark, all right? You know what it's like to leave for work in the morning and see the fucking moon, bro? It's depressing as shit.
Welcome to Libtards and Shy. Here, we discuss liberalism and what's stopping its progress, all while drinking way too much Arabic tea, which is called Shy. So, come on in.
How you doing?
Oh man. So here's something interesting that happened to me today. So I'm visiting my parents, and my grandmother is at my parents' house.
Oh, fun.
And and so she decides to come up to me. So and by the way, this woman is crazy. So she comes into the
Wait, is this the one you took?
Yeah, this is the one that I.
Okay.
Yeah, this is off.
Okay.
And so she comes into the room, and she starts stretching out her like pants, like out, like you know how like a person showing you the progress of their weight loss.
I don't want to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's so much worse. So she just like is showing me like, hey, I'm translating everything. Right? It's like she's like, oh, hey, Mansoor. Did I lose weight? It's like 7 inches, by the way. It's like very clearly that she's wearing much larger pants. It's like, oh, did I lose any weight? And then in the process of lifting her pants outwards, just a flash of tits.
Your flashback.
My grandmother flashbanged me with her 83-year-old fucking grandma tits. And I think I considered pouring bleach into my eyes.
I'll pour bleach in your eyes right now. Can you pour bleach into my ears so I can not hear this fucking story? I didn't want to hear this story. We were supposed to talk about some kind of important and I think interesting shit today, and now I can think of as grandma titties, dude. Yeah. That's not cool.
And when you think about imagining seeing your own
I'm not imagining. You imagine.
Actually,
you imagine.
Way worse than you imagine.
I'm not imagining. I'd never imagine that. I will never imagine grandma titties. God.
This is literally why I fuck men.
My grandma has no titties.
Jesus Christ.
That's not true. My grandma's got fat tits. Anyways. Whoppers, bro. Anyways.
This is where your obsession with tits comes from.
No, I'm an ass man. This is the version thing.
This is why you and Latinos go together.
Anybody with an ass.
Huh?
Yeah, but they still got the Catholic roots. So it's like,
right. So you guys struggle with guilt.
It's familiar,
yes,
but also foreign. Literally.
Familiar and foreign.
Man, that's the motto.
Familiar and foreign is kind of like the relationship between like Americans and
labor
their
rights
view of unions and stuff like that. Yeah. Familiar like and foreign.
Yeah, that was a rough segue, but we're gonna go with it anyway.
Yeah, we'll go with it anyways.
All right.
Well, today's episode is going to be about.
It's the part 2 in our little union series that we're doing, and we're going to talk about a myriad of things. 3 of them are going to be what I think are probably the 3 most consequential strikes in U.S. history.
So today is about union busting. How the major 3 incidences of unions being crushed by either capital or by the government.
The first one is going to be all the way back in 1886 with the Haymarket riots in Chicago. The first 2 are actually both in Chicago. The Haymarket riot, though, is interesting because when you first start reading about it, it's what the normal things about unions started, like horrible working conditions, 12-hour work days, 80-hour work weeks, child labor, that kind of shit, right? It's normal. What's interesting about this, though, is that in 1867, Illinois was actually the first state to pass the 8-hour work law, the 8-hour workday law.
Oh, so this is before federal regulation.
Before federal regulation, Illinois already passed it.
This is when?
1867. Haymarket riot was in 1886.
Whoa, this is like before the Civil War ended?
So before the Civil War ended.
Wait, did the Civil War end in 65?
65. So a couple years after the Civil War.
After the Civil War. Okay, yeah. Wow.
Around the same time.
That's early.
Around the same time. Very early.
Yeah.
And you would think that like the state like Illinois would have these leader in these progressive ideals. And these businessmen would be like, well, that's the law. We got to do that, right? And the answer is just no.
Oh, they just didn't do it.
They just didn't do it. Like they passed the law and they were just like, no.
This is like Andrew Jackson. With,
like when your
Worcester
grandma,
versus
when
Georgia.
your grandma came in and was like, "Hey, did I lose weight?" And you were like, "No," and she was like, "Tits."
Grandma Tits is American
Yeah.
corporations.
That's the title of the episode, by the way.
Yeah, they're in your face even when you don't want them to be.
That's the title of the episode.
Grandma's.
Grandma Tits or American corporations.
Oh god!
So yeah, they straight up
we just
ignore 'em.
revealed to the audience that we name our episodes after recording because we're brainstorming. The title.
Everyone names their episodes after recording.
That's true.
That's what I tell myself after I leave here.
Yes.
Anyways.
So, grandma's. So here's the thing. So you're saying Illinois in 1867
Mhm.
has an 8-hour work law.
On the books.
Oh, and
Signed into law.
okay. So this is literally Andrew Jackson, where like he was told that hey, you can't remove Indians from their place, and he was like,
And he went, nah.
yeah, like the court has made its decision. Now let him enforce it. Is that kind of?
I'm not going to move the Indians. I'm going to kill them.
Jesus,
Yeah.
why am I laughing? Oh, fuck.
And he's like, you have to have an 8-hour workday. And they're like, at least 8 hours, right? Like, I can give 12? And they're like, no more. And they were like, oh, I could do 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we put children in the mines?
Yeah. You were trying to negotiate
yeah.
with an uncle? That's what it is.
Like an Arab uncle?
Yeah, it's like haggling with
Yeah,
an Arab
yeah,
uncle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, this is 12. And I was like, you mean 6?
No, it's like, Dad, can I have $20? Why do you want $10?
Exactly.
Fine, I'll give you $5. You know,
And he's
it's
like, I
that.
can't believe you took $2 from me. You owe me 20. And you're like, whoa, how did we double?
So Haymarket is in what? It's in 80 something.
The riots in 86.
Okay, 1886.
1886.
Yes.
So around over almost 20 years.
Okay, so in this 20-year period, what do we have? We have the first state in the United States to pass an 8-hour work week.
Right.
And then you have the major industrial cities in the United States are like what? Philadelphia,
Chicago, New
New
York,
York,
yeah.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's it. These are the industrial powerhouses.
Those are the main three.
Philadelphia,
Chicago,
New York,
and
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Obviously in the outskirts of Jersey, that kind of stuff, other parts of Illinois, where it's
Kansas
like not
City
in the
was
major
big
things.
in the fact that which city sits on where the Missouri River and the Mississippi River meet?
Louisville?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St.
That's what I'm
Louis.
thinking.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I
St.
knew
Louis
it had a Lou in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what is the byproduct? Sorry, what is the catalysts that led to the Haymarket riots? Obviously, corporations are abusing workers. You have child laborers; they're getting paid pennies
Right.
on the dollar. But so we know that the conditions for labor is awful. I mean,
Horrendous.
at this point, we talked about this in the last episode. At this point in the 1880s and in the 1890s, it was actually illegal to form a strike. It was illegal.
Striking
to
was
strike.
illegal, yeah.
Yeah, it was illegal
As
to
you said in the
strike,
last
and
episode,
unions weren't
absolutely.
even legally recognized. And so the
No,
Wagner,
because they weren't a thing. Because most jobs back then were agrarian or like mercantile.
Right.
So they were like, I'm going to make a barrel, I'm going to make some shoes, I'm going to farm. That
well,
kind of
also
shit.
a lot of these people had just moved to the city because the
For
Civil War
work.
had devastated
The
so
Southern
many
economy.
economies. So there's only so many cities with jobs.
Right.
So a lot of these people have never even seen or understood what factories are.
No, but nobody has.
Right.
That's the thing. Like,
Like,
it's brand fucking new.
It's brand fucking new. Okay, so
Because this is the pop off of the Industrial Revolution in America,
Right.
at least. England happened a little bit earlier, but for America, this is when it goes down.
right, like the 1880s.
Yeah.
Is the peak and boom. I mean,
And something to keep in mind, where like if you're back in the days and you're making like a barrel for somebody in your little village or whatever, or your town, or you're
Right.
making you're the cobbler, the shoe guy, or you're the farmer, you're providing a service for the town. I'm feeding the town. I'm helping people ship their goods. I'm putting things on people's feet.
right.
There's somewhat a pride and like sense of accomplishment in this kind of work. Factory work is soul crushingly monotonous, dude.
It's degrading as
It's
hell.
I'm gonna put this washer on this bolt 100 million times for 12 hours straight.
Right. And you get no breaks, and you're living in
You don't
horrible
get breaks.
conditions with
It's
terrible
smoke filled.
ventilation.
You're literally in a giant metal fucking box. It's dark. It's dark. It's dark.
Jesus.
It's disgusting. It's soul crushing. So people are pissed off. Not to mention for 20 years, they're supposed to be like, hey, they're just breaking the law. So eventually, yeah, they pop off.
Okay, so
They
they're
get together. A fuck ton of people go on strike too.
well. Again, this is not the first strike in American history.
No.
This is the first one that actually just captivates the history books.
Mhm.
And for me, what I know about this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what's fascinating to me about the labor movement is that it actually required a lot of men to become militant because
Right.
companies would hire strikebreakers,
Absolutely.
a lot of whom were black. No, sorry, not the strikebreakers, but the scab labor.
Scab labor,
yes. But they would hire strikebreakers.
Which is a method of union busting counter strikes.
Right,
yeah,
but they would hire
undermine them,
they would hire strikebreakers to physically assault not just union organizers, but people who dared to go on strike.
Absolutely.
And then because a lot of the early unions up until the passage of the Civil Rights Act, they didn't allow black people. So black people would be used as scab labor.
Which is something we have to admit. Like, as we are trying to...
we're
trying to acknowledge the good that these people, that what they fought for,
right,
and that gave us the rights that we have today. But we're also trying to acknowledge the fact that like a huge part of them is like
America's
crazy
march
racist.
Towards
like
progress.
They did not allow black people in their unions.
Right. America's march towards progress is a push to live up to not just the ideals, because our ideals that were written in the founding were shit. It's beyond the ideals. We are praising the foundations. We're praising the way unions were founded and the benefits they made for white people. And what we want nowadays is we want these same exact
just do that for
laws, but just for everyone else.
Just do it for everybody.
And it's not that difficult. You just need to have no Negro clause in the goddamn law. Like, it's really that hard.
Nix the no Negro clause.
Right. Just nix
the no.
Yes.
Say that 10 times fast and don't be racist while you do it.
Oh God, I already feel filthy. Like I just saw my grandmother's tits.
If you say the word Negro one more, I've hit the quota for that word. I can't.
I try to use it in an academic context.
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's tough.
You know, it's not hard.
Don't say it.
Your grandma's titties.
Oh God. Oh God. I'm never sleeping ever again.
You think I'm gonna go to sleep tonight?
Oh,
God damn, dude.
But so there has been a history of violence.
Absolutely,
right,
and that's where we get to the Pullman strike.
Okay, so no. I'm talking Haymarket right now,
or the Haymarket. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
So there is a history of violence.
There's a history of violence.
They've been assaulted and brutalized many times. So now they've hit their breaking limit, and what happens?
So on May 3rd, this is in the middle of the strike. They go on strike 1886. They start the strike in April. It's not like a one-day sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But on May 3rd, one of the rioters, protesters, whatever you want to call them, I'm going to call them protesters,
right,
gets killed by cops.
Got it. Who again are super corrupt at the time.
Super corrupt, bought and paid for,
than we even imagine.
And there's probably mixed in some of those
strikebreakers, and they're literally killing people for
profit.
Yeah.
Because of robber baron, which is the fancy term for a billionaire fuckery douchebag, hired them to do so.
Right.
So that happens on May 3rd. May 4th, the crowd's a little pissed off.
They just keep getting shot at and killed.
Yeah, like you killed one of our boys, now I'm kind of mad.
Right.
And in the craziness, somebody throws a bomb at the cops.
Jesus.
Like a little homemade bomb. And it kills 8 cops. And the cops open fire onto the crowd and bullets are flying everywhere. This is how crazy this shit is. I couldn't even find numbers on how many non-cops died.
I mean, the media is so
skewed.
Especially when we look at primary sources from the time. Like, we're trying to read the Chicago Tribune from that time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the local newspapers, like, when you were tasking me with finding numbers, I literally came back to you and I was like, I can't.
Yeah, because all the primary sources were newspapers. Because billionaires also have this tendency to buy newspapers. Yeah. Washington Post, hint, hint.
William Randolph Hearst much,
but exactly.
So we know exactly how many cops died. We know that there's been a history of violence. Mm-hmm. So when we were saying last episode that people literally fought for your right to not have your child work in a mine, and
this is what we're talking about.
This is literally what we're talking about.
This is like actual violence, actual death.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the riots occur. And does it solve anything? Is there any major legislation passed?
Not at all.
Keep
in mind, there's already legislation on the books. On a state level, not a federal level.
And this is occurring in Chicago.
And this is occurring in Chicago within the District of Illinois. So, the law should be applied. They're just ignoring it, which I cannot still get my mind around. But anyways.
We do that all the time. I mean, presidents aren't allowed to declare war, but
but they can just send forces to Iraq.
Yeah, we can send military. Yeah, we can have a military action in Iraq, no problem.
We're going to do a training exercise.
All right. Of bombing children.
Yeah. For 10 years.
Yeah. You know what's the sad part about all that?
What?
All these quote unquote military training actions in like Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam. Here's the sad part. We fucking lost.
Well, there was never a conflict, so technically there's no winners and losers.
Oh, yes.
Unless your name is Dick Cheney, then you won that shit. Anyways.
Yeah, him and fucking Kissinger. Who is, by the way, I kid you not, he is still alive.
Kissinger?
I fucking kid you not. Henry Kissinger is still alive as of this recording. He's 99 years old. I check every year and I say, wait, I say, did this motherfucker who ruined Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, is this fucker still alive?
I've never heard you say anything with more contempt. You're like, I check every year.
I fucking check every year.
You're like, I fucking mean this shit, dude.
Like, I'm just like, whoa, this guy
so
is
crazy.
still alive.
I've never seen you that angry.
Yeah, I've never, I think there's something about committing genocide that just keeps the cells, just keep them going.
Well, he's got a couple, like, what, 1,000 souls?
Yeah. Thousands.
If not a million?
Yeah.
Does he break millions?
Yeah, a few millions.
I'm not familiar with the numbers, dude.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about that? He won a Nobel Peace Prize for ending the Vietnam War. Yeah. 99 years old. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to drink some of my chai and quietly think about that and then think about my grandmother's tits because it will not leave my brain. Help, please.
No, okay.
Okay, here's the deal. I am willing to stare at those tits for a whole 24 hours of my life if just Kissinger died like 20 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, but he has to die like not now. Like that's too late.
Here. You want? Okay. Yeah. Here's my deal. All right?
Yeah.
I'll commit a genocide so I don't have to stare at your tits. How about that? Huh? I don't give a fuck. Morality out the window, bro.
Be a genocide
pick a race. I don't care. Pick a race.
Sweet.
Don't pick a race. Okay, we're fine. We're fine.
We're fine.
We dodged a bullet there. Because you can be racist against Swedes. They're Swedes. They're not even people.
Dude, exactly. They're just hot and racist. That's all they are. Oh my god.
Can you be ugly and not racist? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Dude, Hitler was not a looker. Like, let's be honest.
I said ugly and not racist.
Oh, and not racist. Got it. Wait, can you be ugly?
And not racist.
Yeah. But you know what you, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, Mangala was joking.
Jesus. All right.
Okay, so.
I kind of had a hog on him.
Yeah. So, Haymarket Riot has literal violence.
Literal violence, bomb thrown, 8 cops dead. Unknown amount of protesters
Got
because the media is so crazy biased. And after the bombing, because which is what that's called, they don't call it riots, they call it a bombing.
Right.
And they picture it like, the only way I can like frame it in a modern context is would be like, if there was an industry completely dominated by Muslims in America and they went on strike and then a protest happened and some riots broke out.
And they called it 9/11 2.0.
And they called it 9/11 2.0. That's exactly, it's the only thing that I can compare it to modern stuff. Just to get a sense of like what the media was like.
You said it also related to like the Chicago 7 or something?
Yeah, if you've ever seen the movie The Trial of the Chicago 7, which is the next
I know about it. Sorkin wrote that.
Yeah. So trial to summarize that movie very, very quickly, it's the DNC riots in like in the 60s, protests at the anti-Vietnam War, riot breaks out, they arrest 7 protesters, activists.
Got it.
None of which have anything to do with each other. They're 3 individual groups, one college group, one hippie group, and like the Black Panthers.
And it's conspiracy to commit.
And they're trying to
riot, right?
Riot them all together in conspiracy. And it's like one of the most famous trials ever in like legal, in like law schools and stuff.
Right.
For how not to conduct a trial from the judge's point of view.
Well, I think
at one point a man who was black was literally bound and gagged in an American courtroom.
No.
Yes. Like that should actually happen.
Jesus, that's like Dred Scott decision level of
exactly.
bad,
It's crazy. And the same sort of thing happened with the Haymarket riots.
Well, you were telling me about how, what's it called? No one historically knows who threw the bomb, but they arrested 8 people or 9 people or something?
I think 8 people.
8 people.
8 people. And if you want to take a wild guess in the dark of who they arrested.
I actually legitimately don't know, so I'm really wildly guessing. But
keep in mind, your grandma's old, but not that old.
Okay, but if I can just use American history as continuity, I would guess that they arrested some organizers or some leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Chicken dinner. Yeah.
It's almost like it's obvious.
Yeah.
Like you don't even need to know to guess. Because I don't think they were arresting just random people.
No.
You know?
And the entire fucking world already hates them. So you can't have a fair trial. Nor was the trial fair. There was a shockingly lack of evidence.
Got it. So
there's a statue in Chicago right now commemorating them.
When was it built?
Way after the fact.
Got it.
Because there's also a statue of the cops that died.
What the fuck?
That statue was erected immediately after.
That's strange.
They appealed all the way to the Supreme Court too, but 4 of them did get hung and executed.
Hung?
Hung. Executed.
I mean, I want to say...
The other 4 either got sentence commuted by the governor, or I think one of them didn't get sentenced to death. One of them got sentenced to like 15 years of labor or something like that.
But then I remembered it was the 1890s.
1860s.
What do you mean? Haymarket is
Haymarket's 1860s still.
1880s, 86.
86.
Yeah. So what? Slavery just ended 20 years ago, and we still have children in mines.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the first Red Scare. If you remember, ninth grade social studies with McCarthyism.
Oh, this is where they start equating communists
with unions. Because the majority of the workers were immigrants.
Even though in America today, most private sector union workers are white men who are very Republican leaning.
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but back then they weren't white, they were German. How fucking ironic is that, dude?
Oh, they hadn't earned white status back then. They hadn't earned
white status.
Right.
People were still German or Polish or whatever the fuck.
That's crazy. Yeah. So this translates into very little political change at the time.
Very little political change and huge win for corporations in terms of PR.
So the labor movement is angry. Let's talk about Pullman strike.
Pullman strike is next. That happens in around the 1890s, right?
Yeah.
So where the Pullman strike is named after George Pullman. He was a railroad car dude.
Historians are really good at naming things.
They're really good at naming things. Super fucking creative with it. He made his millions about like the streetcar that he made did the last leg of Lincoln's funeral, I think.
Oh, okay.
So he got like crazy
some notoriety. Okay.
Yeah, that's essentially like going viral on TikTok now. Made crazy amounts of bread. And then he bought 4,000 acres in South Chicago and created his own town. A la Elon Musk trying to do with the fucking Starbase or whatever the fuck he's trying to do in Austin right now.
Like fucking Disney.
Yeah.
And how they own it.
So next time you see Elon Musk talking about Starbase, think George Pullman. He's doing the exact same shit.
This is what Labor Day is based off, right?
This is what Labor Day is based off. Yes, absolutely. And Pullman creates this little town where his factories are. And it's not just a town. It's a town that he controls entirely, like a fucking little dictatorship, right? He controls the media, because he is the media.
Right.
He controls the prices of goods. He controls rent. There's no public gatherings allowed. You're not even allowed to make a speech in public. So you know the crazy dude like stands on a soapbox and says, Jesus is coming with a cardboard sign and you need to fuck my fish if you want to live, or whatever he says, right? What, you never see a homeless dude fuck a fish?
You know what? For a man who has seen his grandmother's tits, I've not yet lived long enough to see a homeless man
fuck a fish.
Fuck a fish.
You haven't lived, my friend. Anyways,
I haven't. No, no. I'm glad I haven't been living.
No. Yeah.
Do you want some more shy?
Yeah, actually, sure. Why not? Thank you.
Absolutely. It's damn good. It's a beautiful color. Which, of course, the audience cannot see.
It's the same color. It's the same shit, as always.
No, there's radiance to it. It flickers. It's like showgirls. You know how they flicker?
No.
They have glitter on. That's how they flicker.
They have glitter? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, you haven't
heard of strippers.
Yeah, what do you think a showgirl is?
It's an uglier stripper.
No, I thought it was a more expensive.
No, that's a prostitute.
No. Oh, stop. There's a hierarchy of whores here. So, we have... So, showgirl is like... They're like doing performances.
Strippers are?
No, but like... Oh, how do I describe it? It's like in a theater.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a more cavalier. It's a higher class of people.
Oh, okay.
See, it's what hierarchy of
showgirls are strippers with their pinkies out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
Exactly.
I got you. All right.
See, one gets tipped in ones, the other gets tipped in fives.
What?
I'm just imagining like an old...
No, they don't.
I'm imagining an old aristocrat. Here's a 5 for you.
No one's thrown money at the cabaret, all right?
But it's all like...
okay. Pullman.
All
right, so Pullman's this little fucking egotistical dickhead billionaire a la Elon Musk. I really want to make that comparison because it made me so
It's
happy.
right.
And he's got this little town that he created and forced all his workers into.
So there's a big factory there, right?
A giant factory there where all his workers work.
Okay.
Right, exactly. And in 1893, there's a little recession. So what does he do? He does what billionaires do.
Cuts a bunch of fucking jobs.
Cuts costs.
All right.
Increases hours. Lays some people off. Cuts wages by around 30%. Do you think he cuts rent?
Oh, God.
No.
Yeah, no. Because that's his money.
Because no. We got to keep that in mind. Like all the money that he's giving to his workers, he's getting back on the other end.
Because they live in his
town.
Wow.
It's a circuit. So he's essentially spending like very fucking little money, if any, on these shits.
Wow.
So when the recession hits and he cuts things, does he guys rent? No. Does the press that he owns
talk about this?
No. Does the national press, who's equating him as a genius and an innovator, a la Steve Jobs. Do they get wind of this? No. They don't.
These people fucking lose their minds.
So these people lose their goddamn minds.
As they should. I would fucking lose their mind. Okay.
Which is in 1894. And he essentially just goes, fuck you. No.
We're not negotiating?
Not negotiating at all. Which
is where how does this end?
Grover Cleveland comes in and sends in the National Guard to break up the strike.
No.
The President of the United States.
Time out. Okay, so you're telling... Okay, so... Because I don't know much about the Pullman strike. So, they go on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Pullman won't negotiate.
No.
They start to...
Just says fuck you.
Strike within the city, and I'm guessing they got accused of being rioters. And...
Keep in mind, Haymarket. They are not workers fighting for rights on them. Right? They are rioters, they are looters, they are criminals in the public eye.
Yeah, in 1894... I mean, going on strike is a criminal act.
Yeah, it's kind of far away, but you got to remember this wasn't the age of social media where you're inundated with content every fucking day.
Right.
People have memories still.
Right.
So Haymarket's in their mind.
Oh, of course.
They remember this shit. Public sentiment has carried over. So the president sends the National Guard to bust up the strike.
Well, what's interesting to me is that he has the political capital.
He still has the political capital.
No. I mean,
or the political power. I don't know about capital.
Well, I mean, like, what I mean by political capital, I mean, like, the public sentiment is strong enough for him to, at that time, to leverage or justify the fact that he can send in the National Guard and violently suppress that.
At that time, yeah. But you got to remember, this is also, like, the height of corruption in the United States, probably.
This is or like, Teapot Dome is going on and stuff
Teapot
like that.
Dome, this is where, like, Gangs of New York type shit, if you want to do a movie reference.
Got it. Okay, so, okay.
Tweedism.
Right.
Height of tweedism.
Right, like Boss Tweed.
Even though we still had tweedism.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, it's, so, the Pullman strike is in 1894.
Mm-hmm.
Is violently suppressed. It will later be, in the 30s under FDR, be canonized as Labor Day, in which it will become a national holiday.
Right.
What's fascinating to me is that from 1894 onwards, the violent suppression of these strikers turns the sentiment of laborers to organize. There becomes a public outcry in the United States among the working class.
At a grassroots level, not in a
not
media
on a media level.
We're not doing a social war like we're doing now.
Right.
I'm not saying there's anything bad about social war. It's caused amazing things for our generation.
Right. There's
but
a reason
they don't
why
have those resources right now.
Right.
They don't have the voice of the internet.
And
so this is just like, yo, you hear what happened to Fred over there at that factory? That's kind of fucked up, dude.
Right.
They're hearing stories at the bars.
The 1890s is the culmination of the massive push towards the Wagner Act, which is a 40-year struggle to unionize. Here's something very interesting, because we talked about the Wagner Act last week.
Yeah.
I am on the World Inequality Database.
Oh, this graph.
Okay. This graph is fucking incredible.
He really likes this graph.
Oh, God. This makes me, like, nerd hard.
Yeah.
So, in
Makes Mitch McConnell evil hard, but continue.
In 1929, before the Great Depression started, the top 1% of Americans owned 50% of the wealth in America.
Which is bad shit crazy.
That's
crazy. Bad shit crazy.
The Great Depression happens, a bunch of people lose their money. Within 1 year, it drops to 43%. And then by 1936, it bounced back, where 44 to 46% of all the money in the United States is owned by the top 1%.
Right.
In 1938, 4 decades of labor movement, of strikes, of violence, of being killed,
mm-hmm.
and of protesting and solidarity leads to the passage under the most liberal president in the history of the United States, in the wake of the New Deal, leads to the passage of the Wagner Act. That's 1938. It plummets. The percentage goes from 44% of all the wealth being owned by 1% of Americans. In 1 year, it drops to 28%.
It goes straight down.
Straight fucking down. And over the course of 1938 to 1948, it ends at 26%, and a new law is
started
introduced.
At 50, cut it in half.
So cut it in half within 10 years. And then there's a massive jump within the first year.
No, do you know what it is? It's a massive wealth redistribution.
You're goddamn right. This is socialism at work.
Mm-hmm.
It empowered laborers, people who fucking made the economy happen, and empowered them to, actually leverage their labor like corporations leverage their capital. So corporations are allowed to leverage their capital. Now, for the first time ever, laborers are legally allowed to leverage their labor. So we talked about this in episode 1. The National Labor Board was created. They're allowed to legally go on strike. And they have all these powers. Employers had to be neutral. Mm-hmm. But then a wave of strikes, a wave of labor, and the loss of a huge percentage of wealth of the top 1% leads to a backlash. These billionaires who have run the country, who have been enjoying incredible prosperity at the expense of the American working class, now say, fuck this shit. They spend billions of dollars in lobbying. After the end of World War II, it basically ends with the passage of a new act. It is an amendment to the Wagner Act.
In 1947, the Taft-Hartley Amendment. And
that, right there, we see the graph. We see that in the 1920s, that percentage was at 50%.
Plateaus.
And then we go to... No. And I'm talking about 1929.
Yeah.
So 1929, it's peaked at 50%. By the middle of the Great Depression in 1938, it's at 44%. The passage of the Wagner Act plummets it to 1947, where it's at 26%. And then after the passage of the Taft-Hartley Act, it just plateaus. And until you get to the 80s, we'll talk about that later. When it gets to the 80s, it just plummets even further. So you're talking about a major inhibition to labor growth. The Taft-Hartley Act is responsible for a wide variety of basically labor right restrictions.
We have, as you said earlier, corporations were forced to be neutral when their workers decided to unionize. Taft-Hartley put an end to that. They now had the free speech clause, which was a huge thing. It essentially allowed them to do something called a captive audience speech, where they now have a say in whether or not their workers get to unionize.
So it's like
not the corporations, speeches? But the businessmen, or the people, the owners.
So what did you get to do? Captivating speeches?
No, captive as in like zoo animals.
Oh, like I caught me a worker.
Yeah.
Now let me make them watch propaganda.
Yeah. Sit down, Kunta.
Oh no, God. I think that reference is not accurate because at this time, a lot of, other than the Wobblies, no other union was letting in black people.
And there are a lot of whites, so it's probably a joke in poor taste. But hey, Wowie.
With the shruggy shoulder.
But anyways, but the captive audience speech is very interesting because it essentially turns every corporation and workers into a campaign. And you're already running sort of a campaign within the workers to unionize. Right. You have people that are like, nah, I'm not trying to fuck this up and lose my job.
Right.
And you're probably like, nah, dude, if we fight and stand together, we can actually do something. That's already a campaign just between the workers, which is how it should be.
Right.
And which is how it was before the Taft-Hartley Act. With this amendment and the free speech clause in the Taft-Hartley Amendment, it turned it into a 3-pronged campaign. So you now have the end of thing. This one side that wants to unionize, the other side of the workers that aren't sure, are on the fence, maybe don't want to unionize, and then the corporation.
Jesus.
And it's not a fair campaign when your boss sits you down into a meeting and says, hey, if you unionize, we're going to close. It's not like a normal campaign where Hillary goes, hey, I think we should have healthcare and wear pantsuits. And Trump goes, you look like a warthog, or whatever the fuck he said. I didn't pay attention back then.
And then he won.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go down a list of stuff. Okay, the Taft-Hartley Amendment basically ended solidarity striking. So if you're a factory worker, you're not allowed to go on strike with other workers from other factories.
If the steel mill's on strike,
the steel mill workers across town can't go on strike with you. Which means now every single site is isolated.
Right.
So companies can come together and pass legislation and lobby Congress together.
Oh, but who can't lobby Congress?
Workers.
Unions.
And unions who represent, the unions who represent
workers can lobby Congress.
Right.
Joe, the poor steel mill man, can lobby Congress all he wants.
Right.
With his giant amount of capital.
Yeah.
But his union can't.
So there's a bunch of stuff.
To.
Political strikes, solidarity strikes, secondary boycotts. All right. These are all things that no longer are allowed under Taft-Hartley.
Divide and conquer techniques.
Right. Monetary donations by unions to federal political campaigns, that's gone. Here's a fun one. The allowance or the amendment allowed states to create right-to-work laws. These right-to-work laws basically state that a union can no longer force its members to pay dues. Now you say, oh great, that's more freedom, but let's just think about this for a second.
Right.
If you don't have to pay dues, that means some people, because they still receive the benefits of the union, some people choose not to pay dues while others do, and that creates animus. So now, instead of these people working together...
I'm paying for this dude's fucking...
Right.
This dude's lunch break, this dude's healthcare. No.
So it's like, for example, you and I go to Thailand and we're buying whores together, okay? Now what happens if we put it into a pool and then all of a sudden you don't put your fair share in, but I'm paying for your whores? So you're just getting to like nut and have fun all over the place,
Right.
but I'm paying for that.
Yeah.
That's going to create a lot of animus.
Yeah.
Our
100%.
whore party's not going to be a thing
Yeah.
anymore.
Dude, I
So-
got fucking gonorrhea for free.
Exactly.
That's going to be an awkward flight home.
So,
Not just because my dick burns.
oh God, you get an ointment.
Is gonorrhea the burn one?
No, dude. Gonorrhea is like you take a penicillin shot and it's gone.
All right, slut.
Yeah. Ooh. So it's important to understand that when you force,
You know, for a guy who hates condoms, like, I feel like I should have said that.
yeah, you really should have said that.
Yeah.
So it's important to
I'm
understand
blessed,
that.
dude. Do the sign of the cross. Let's
Are you
go.
doing the freaking? Oh shoot! I just hit my mic. Are you doing the freaking
The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit cross?
I don't know what you call it.
When it comes to STDs, absolutely. STDs and pregnancy, I'm Catholic as fuck.
Really?
Yeah. And
But you're not Catholic when it comes to killing the aborting.
no. This is in like the limbo state of pregnancy. Once I know she's pregnant, I'm kill baby.
Kill baby, yeah.
Kill baby all
Gotcha,
the way.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah.
And if not, there's always 1,000-Step Beach.
We're going to do a poll in the comments. Which was worse, 1,000-Step Beach abortion joke or the Kunta joke?
Yeah, I think could definitely be worse.
Ask your grandma's titties. Anyways.
So it's important to understand that when you deny unions the ability to force everyone to pay dues, basically it creates dissent. So this law did not ban striking. It
No.
didn't ban unions. But what it did is it chips away at the effectiveness
Of the existing unions.
of the existing unions
And-
to mechanize and organize, right?
And it makes it infinitely harder for new unions to form, which
Exactly.
is why we see from this era in the
Right.
40s
Right.
to now, unions being stagnant.
So when
And
people
from the
say
80s on, just plummeting.
right, so the
in the private
percentage,
sector.
the
In the private
percentage of union membership in the United States goes down not because people are leaving unions, but because as globalization occurs and the economy grows,
Right.
these new jobs don't get unions, and so it's basically the economy is growing around it.
No, because new jobs aren't union jobs.
They're not union
They're
jobs
just
because of
jobs.
Taft-Hartley.
They got to learn how to walk.
Right. So Taft-Hartley basically stated that you're not automatically a union job; you have to build one, and then because of this law, it's now much easier to bust and deny the creation of these unions.
Mhm.
And here's the worst part. The National Labor Board used to be able to step in and say when somebody strikes, no, you can't, like tells the employers, this is a legit strike. They've petitioned. We recognize that it's a legit strike. You can't go to the courts.
We recognize them as an actual union, yes.
Right.
Because once you register with the National Labor Board, you're a union.
Right. So now the
Whether or
employer
not the
can't go to
corporation
the
agrees
judicial
or not,
system and sue the shit out of them and try to spend them dry. Right. They're protected.
Under the Wagner.
Now what happens is that you can take this thing to court and file for an injunction to stop the strike. And they'd have to pay damages. And the Supreme Court right now, as we speak in this modern day, is
Mhm.
arguing that not only does that happen, but that it automatically needs to go through the court system first.
Yeah.
Then you bypass the National Labor Board.
Yeah, we live in a great time, dude.
Yeah. This conservative court is just fucking completely devoid of reality.
It's kind of crazy.
Right. I mean,
it's terrifying.
I mean, we just already lost abortion.
They're so young, dude. It's such a young court,
Dude,
too. That's the scary
they'll
part.
be there our whole adult lives. Our
Easy.
whole working lives.
Easy.
Our whole working lives.
Easy.
Yeah. We probably
By the time we qualify for the Social Security that won't longer exist,
that will no longer. Yes, I was about to say that. It
Yeah.
will no longer exist.
it
but
won't exist.
we will be able to qualify for it, and when we do qualify for it,
The worst part is we're gonna pay into it for like 40 years too. It's gonna like it's
we're-
it's gonna cash out when we turn like 64.
we're the absolutely
when we turn
most
like
fucked.
64.
Right. We pay into it every fucking dime. Yeah. It's so frustrating. But again, the fact that this sounds like a lot of legalese, and it's because it is. Instead of they no longer can put children in mines. They no longer can send cops to just kill you for being a union member, though they will try.
No.
It's important to understand that the way we talked about this way back in an episode when it came to Glass-Steagall and the taking over of the courts. The devil's in the details. They create all these weird little finicky loopholes and laws to chip away at the effectiveness of unionization to represent its workers or for workers to come together and form a union.
It's the same reason doctors use Latin for all their shit.
Oh, exactly.
They want
Because if everybody knew what they said, they wouldn't be getting paid.
they
so much
wouldn't be
money.
exclusively.
Right.
It's not a fucking. It's a titty, bro.
Right.
Cut into it. Take the cancer out.
Yeah. Like, they have like, oh, you have.
You can explain these things and concepts in very like just short, easy ways.
Right.
But they will do it in the most convoluted and most vague part of the Constitution.
Right.
Article 3 is the most vague part of the Constitution.
Are you talking about like
The Supreme Court.
Gotcha.
And all inferior courts, which is so fucking broad. You know how there's 13 federal districts? Do you know
Right.
why there's 13?
Why?
Just because, I don't know. There's no reason.
Oh, and also how they
There's no reason.
Also, judicial review is a power they gave themselves.
The power they gave themselves. All the courts below that on a federal level, the appellate courts,
Right.
as needed.
Also, they get
They
to
can
serve.
just create a new
They get to
court.
serve for life because the Supreme Court doesn't provide an age. So they just assumed it's for life.
Doesn't provide any qualifications.
Yeah, it can
Me
be
and you
anybody.
qualified to be a Supreme Court justice.
Wow. That's fucking crazy.
I know.
And if you think about it, yeah, I mean, they have 2 rapists and a fucking religious zealot, Barrett, who grew up in a freaking cult.
Dude, then we should definitely win that.
Yeah, like,
We're like miles above them.
I mean, I just,
Do you know how many people I raped today?
dude, I raped 0 people.
0 again.
Like, dude, I just
Again. I'm on a roll.
Dude, I'm just like every day I
2.5
wake up.
decades.
Dude, every time I wake up, you know the John Cena song, ba ba da ba, 0 rapes, ba ba da ba. You know?
You know, the rock thing where he goes like this. You can't
Yeah,
see
yeah.
You know what you can't
With the
see?
face, yeah.
My rapes. Can't
Yeah.
see my rapes.
Because they're not real, you know? Basically, the Taft-Hartley Act is the setting stone that leads to the major decline of unionization. And we see peak unionization. The peak membership is around the 60s and 70s. And lo and behold, that's also the time where there is the lowest amount of wealth inequality in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
In 1978, the 1% only owned 20% of the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So right now and today, it's doubled. It's ballooned to 39%. But in 1978, this is where we start to see a dramatic shift. And we're going to talk about this in the next episode. We're going to talk about this in the next episode, the rise of Reagan, the rise of the deregulation movement. When I mean deregulation, I mean the deregulation of fucking everything.
Dude, he does not give a fuck.
Like, just everything is being deregulated.
You think I like the raw dog?
Oh, God. Especially, dude, we need to get you some help.
He is laissez-faire.
Yeah.
The nuts. That's him.
Didn't you, were you the one who said that it takes an incredible head to convince you that you could just give crack to black people?
Do you know how good a blowjob has to be? So he's like, let's give crack to black people.
So it is we're coming to an end here. The thing that we will segue to in the next episode is union busting in the modern era, and how before, though it's illegal for federal employees to go on strike, many of them have gone on strike before, and they were not all fired. What happened to PATCO, which is the Air Traffic Controllers Union, and what Reagan did
right,
in 1981, what he did,
some gangster
will
shit.
set the stage. And that's not a good thing.
No, I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's like an objective,
yes,
Michael Corleone's a
you
gangster.
Mob boss
yeah,
ghoul.
no, yeah.
Yeah. So the way he broke the Air Traffic Controllers Union in 1981 basically gave a green light for a whole bunch of corporations to start doing the fucking same.
Like, oh, it's fuckery time?
That's okay.
It's fuckery time.
Yeah. I'm allowed to have, I'm allowed to flash my tits at my employees.
Good night.
And that's all the time we have. This has been Libtards and Shy with Max and Monsoor. Join us again next week for an all-new episode, and please remember to like and subscribe on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Wherever you are and whenever you are, have a good morning, good evening, or good night. What?
Don't wait around till after the credits. There's nothing weird there.
Okay, so here's the thing. I come in, this is like the 6th grade or something like that. So you understand the idea of, the person who shaped me. So I come in and I have this math test in my hand, and it's graded, and I have the second highest grade in the class. And I go to my father and I say, Dad, I got the second highest math grade in the class. A quote from my father.
Mm-hmm.
He says, oh, that's interesting. Well, I guess there's a father out there that's more prouder than I.